in terms of the differences between your traditional construction method and the off-site construction method, and also what are the benefits of using the off-site construction method, maybe for some of our listeners who have heard a little bit about both but don't really know what the benefits are of the off-site method. So could you just give us a little bit of an insight from your side?
Yeah. There's a massive driver from Tony, our CEO, to take away all on-site works, plumbing works, electrical works, and to get everything in the factory and to get everything prefabricated. Massive advantages in terms of time and cost because it's a standard design that we offer. So we've got an R&D department who are always looking at the next phase and the next kind of version and rollout of our products. We've got PAMs, pre-assembled modules, and pods that we build, and they're all done in the factory. So there's a massive time and cost saving for clients